In this installment of Telecast PH, we are talking with celebrity chef and Hell's Kitchen Season 19 contestant Declan Horgan, who gives us a little background into his life, experience, and how his passion for cooking came to be. We also learn a little bit about being behind the scenes at Hell's Kitchen and what it's like to meet and cook for Gordon Ramsey. And Chef Declan lets us in on what he has in the pipeline for 2021, including some amazing investment opportunities. So if you like Hell's Kitchen and barbecue sauce, then stick around. We'll get into it right after the intro. Roll the intro. What's up, guys, and welcome along to another episode of Telecast PH, the Telework PH Business Process Outsourcing Podcast, a podcast dedicated to breaking through the cultural barriers and changing the way we look at outsourcing to the Philippines. I'm BizDev Jeff, your host, and I'm the Business Development Manager for Telework PH. Thank you so much for joining, and as always, a special thank you to all who have been listening and following my content on LinkedIn and Instagram. And if you haven't yet, and you want to find me on those platforms, all you got to do is search BizDev Jeff. Connect with me and I will show you how outsourcing a full-time dedicated virtual assistant from Telework PH can open up a whole new world. And in return, you'll be helping our mission to make an impact on poverty right here in the Philippines. Right, so on to today's guest. We have celebrity chef and season 19 Hell's Kitchen contestant Declan Horgan, who came to Washington, D.C. all the way from Dublin, Ireland, but made a few stops in France along the way to strengthen his culinary skills by studying under leading chefs. He shares his story and gives some insight into the restaurant business and what it's like to be a restaurateur, as well as an entrepreneur for his own home-bottled sauces. And of course, we're going to talk about one of my all-time favorite TV shows, Hell's Kitchen, and what it's like to be a contestant and work under Gordon Ramsay and take that challenge. But before we get into it, I have a challenge for you. I challenge you to subscribe to this podcast. And if you're on the YouTube channel, take a second to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you'll be notified when I upload new content. Right, so now on to the conversation with Chef Declan. Hey guys, thanks for joining, and it is my absolute pleasure and honor to have with us today restaurateur, celebrity chef, and Hell's Kitchen Season 19 contestant, Chef Declan Horgan. Chef, thank you so much for being here. You know, this is a great big honor for me. And you know, I just got to say, I've seen the season 19. I know that it hasn't premiered yet in the US, but I've seen it here in the Philippines. And I got to say, you know, for a big guy, you really have some moves in the kitchen.
Jeff, how you doing, man? Thanks a million. Yeah, nice of you to say that. How did Muhammad Ali say it? Dance like a butterfly, sting like a bee. Yeah, that's how I roll in the kitchen. Rolling in at like 6'4". I used to do a lot of bodybuilding, and yeah, that's how I roll in the kitchen. And delighted that you enjoyed it. It's airing tomorrow in America. It's been out around the world, so there'll be no spoilers. But yeah, it's going to be huge. It's going to be amazing.
Yeah, there's no spoilers in this podcast. I'm not going to give away anything. You know, but just so everybody knows that we are recording this the day before the premiere. I'm going to try and get it out as quickly as possible. But before we get into that, before we talk about Hell's Kitchen, let's talk about Chef Declan. You know, where'd you get your start? You know, everybody knows you're from Ireland. Tell us how you grew up and what brought you to America.
So I'll start with the cooking side of it. When I was younger, my mother and father were teachers when I was growing up. And as a baby, my mother's mother used to collect me from school. And she would cook all these old traditional Irish dishes for me for lunch when I finished in play school or junior infants. And with that, I'd have like Irish boxed potato farros, potato cakes. Sometimes she'd do me grilled lamb hearts and stuff. Real old school Irish food. But man, my mother's mother was an amazing chef, or cook, should I say. In my mind, she was a chef back then because that's what all I saw was a person working in a kitchen. Then my mother's sisters, I suppose it all passed on to them. And then my mother and my mother's sisters were all amazing cooks and chefs at home. My mother used to cook all types of cuisines. We used to have all the TV shows on, watching these celebrity chefs back in the day.
Right, yeah.
Floyd on Fish, all the good ones. And then with that, we used to cook all different types of dishes. I was never a picky eater, as you can see. My father was an avid sea angler slash fisherman, sea angler slash hunter. And from a very young age, I got to eat all different types of fish from the Irish Sea, all different types of wild game. And as I got older, then I got to butcher them and work with them. And then as I got even older again and became a chef, whenever he brought stuff home, I used to start practicing making dishes with them, and my flavors just matured and matured and matured over time. I've traveled a bit. I used to live in Paris, and I trained in Paris as well. I've trained in a majority of the Michelin star restaurants in Ireland, and probably from back in the 80s when the rock star chef kicked off in the world is when I actually started my career. I've worked for some of the top chefs in Ireland, and I've worked for 2 of the top chefs in Paris.
Wow. And
then with my travel experience and what I've done, I felt that the Irish market was a little bit too small. And I did work in New York back in 1990, and I trained in New York for about a year and a half, 2 years in some restaurants, and then went back to Ireland. And for the period of time that I was back in Ireland, America always called out to me. So at one stage, after doing whatever I was doing in Ireland, I said, look, I think I'm done with Ireland again. I just came back from France. I've been back in Ireland about 3 years. I'd like to go back to America, but I'd like to stay in America this time. I think it's the land of opportunity. So I looked around, I found a position, and I managed to get a visa. And I haven't looked back since. I'm now green carded, and I'm starting a whole new life here.
Rock on, man. Yeah. Rock on. Yeah, I mean, that's an interesting journey. Because like I've told you before, I also was a chef. I mean, not at your caliber. I had always loved food. I'm also a big guy, and I love to eat. And for many years, actually, I worked in the front of the house. I was busboy, waiter, the whole 9 yards. And one day I was in college, and I was a freshman in college, and I was at a party, and I needed a job, and I was talking to some guy, and this guy named Frank. He's like, I'm leaving my job, and they need a replacement. Come down and talk to the chef, and maybe you can work in the kitchen. And I'm like, I've never worked in a kitchen before. I've washed dishes. He's like, well, they need somebody to make salads in the pantry. It's easy. So I'm like, all right, I'll give it a shot. So I went down and talked to the chef, and he gave me a chance, and I fell in love with it. Because the kitchen is it's a different mindset. Because it doesn't care how old you are, how tired you are. It's always humping. You gotta be, almost 100% all the time. It's just the nature of the business. And so, people that like you that are taking that on are quite admirable. So you're in DC now. You're in Washington, DC now.
Yeah, I'm in Washington, DC. But going back to your story, how you got into the kitchen. This is how I got into the kitchen. I wanted to buy a motorbike, I think, when I was about 16, 17. Mm-hmm. And I went down to the nearest pub bar that was beside my house called the Ballantyre House. And I walked in, and I met a chef called Andrew Jackson. And he gave me an opportunity to start as a kitchen porter. And I was working with doing the dishes. And then he started showing me 1 or 2 things, like how to make butterscotch sauce. And then I made some chicken wings. And what I did with the chicken wings was I rubbed chicken bouillon on them and then deep fat fried them. And when he took them out, he started eating them. And he goes, holy hell, what the hell? What you do with this? And I went, I just rubbed chicken bouillon on them because I thought it would make it taste more like chicken. And he goes, it does, it's amazing. And then we started messing about a bit. Then he started letting me cook on the line. And then I eventually saved up and got that motorbike, and then continued on from there. They moved me on to another premises that they had, and my career just kept on moving and moving and moving like that. I stayed with bikes, and then I had Ducatis, and then in June the 1st, 2009, I had a motorbike accident. I came off, and I bust my left knee in about 9 places. I have 2 plates, 2 bolts, and 14 screws in my knee, and I still rock it out up to the last place I was working for in DC is in the new development, the Wharf, and we could do 3,000 covers a day for food from 11 a.m. to 2, and we were doing that during the summer continuously. As regards being able to do it, as you can see, when you get to see the show, I put on a little bit of weight, but that's okay. I'm about to open 2 new restaurants in DC this year. Mm-hmm. One of the last restaurants that I opened up back in 2017 in DC, I worked so hard because this is how I work. I lost 150 pounds in 6 months, and I was featured in one of DC's magazines, The Washingtonian, in an article about how I got this body, executive chef, head chef Declan Horgan. It's online and it's also in paper format. But I hear what you're saying. It's for some people. I've no disrespect for anybody that doesn't continue it, but I've sacrificed so much. All I was ever told was never give up, and you'll be able to work around the world when you become a chef. And they all are come true for me. I never gave up. Anytime I got knocked back down, I always got back up. I always figured out a way how to fix the problems. And just now it's starting to happen for me eventually.
You're living the dream. You're basically living the dream. You've gone after exactly what you wanted, and you're achieving it. You're getting there. Yeah. If you're not, I'd say you've almost arrived. So you're in DC now. Where are you at your own place, your own restaurant now, or are you working for somebody else?
So what I'm doing right now is, if my barbecue sauce is going to be ready for the stores in 2 weeks, and I'm going to spend majority of my time trying to get that into the stores and into restaurants, and then I'm going to have to fulfill orders for everybody who saw the show and looked up my site, www.chefdeclanhorgan.com. And they're going to be looking for my Big D's barbecue sauce.
Right on.
It's all going to go up on Instagram soon. On my Instagram page, @Declan76. All the info is going to be up there. So what I'm going to be doing now is I'm going to be promoting my sauce, getting it into the stores. I'm going to be doing a collab with a place in DC called Toscana Market. And we have a beautiful kitchen in there. And I'm going to be doing online cooking classes that you'll be able to get through Eventbrite. I'm also working with potential and looking for potential investors. I'm about to open DC's first Dublin style fish and chip shop called Big D's Fish and Chips. All the information about that will be up on Instagram as well, or on my website, www.chefdeclanhorgan.com. It's a small little setup. It's perfect for what's going on now with COVID. It's going to be walk in, grab and go. It's also going to be set up to use it on all the platforms for ordering online, DoorDash, etc., Uber Eats, the whole lot of them. As regards fast food or junk food, if you do any research, it's probably some of the healthiest junk food that you can get out there. I'll be using the best fresh fish, all different types. I'm sourcing the best potatoes around America. Everything's going to be made from scratch, and everybody's going to be cooked as you order it, exactly like it is in a chipper back in Ireland, or a fish and chip shop back in England. On top of that, I'm waiting on answers for 2 new big restaurants that I'm hopefully, I'm definitely going to be opening, but I'm just waiting for the dates when they're going to be finalized for the opening. I'm going to open a fine dining restaurant in DC in 2021, and I'm also hopefully opening a gastro pub in DC in 2021. These have been in the pipeline for a while, and that's what I'm doing. I was working, but then when COVID hit, that's after putting a big dampener on things. But right. With that, though, as I said, I never give up. I keep bouncing back. I started making my sauce at home. I started selling it in farmers markets while they were on during the summer. and so on and so forth. And I sold it to friends. I shipped it abroad. Amazing feedback. I know the sauce is really good. And now I have it ready for production. It's FDA approved, and it's going to be ready in 2 weeks for the stores and for customers.
Well, we're going to get some information out about that too later on, because I want to talk about that, because we're going to talk about Big D's. But let's go ahead and get to Hell's Kitchen.
Yep.
Okay, because I've got a million questions now. But before we get on to Hell's Kitchen, that wasn't your first TV appearance, right?
No, that's over now in America. That's my third TV appearance, and then also tomorrow morning I'm going to be on Good Day DC in the morning to announce myself and announce Hell's Kitchen on Fox.
Wow.
The other shows that I was on were Guy Fieri's Guy's Grocery Games on the Food Network. I've been on that twice. The seasons or the episodes, if I recall correctly, I'm just going to look them up now if I can, was the Ultimate Beef Battle.
Right, yeah, that's the one I think I saw.
And the other one was Ghosts of Guys Pasts, which was a Halloween one or something like that. They'll be all up on Instagram again. But right now, the main one is the Hell's Kitchen one.
So tell me, I mean, I've always wondered how do you get on Hell's Kitchen? I mean, what's the process to get chosen?
Right, so I have a friend in Ireland. His name is Alan Raymond, and I think he saw an application on Facebook or somewhere, and he contacted me while he was back in Ireland, and he said, "Declan, you got to go on this. You'll be amazing on this." And I was like, "Yeah, go on, sure. What is it? Send it to me," because I'd been looking for opportunities to go on a show, and I saw that it was Hell's Kitchen, and I was like, "Oh my God." So I filled out the forms, and I said, "Listen, you need to talk to me. You need to ring me, and you'll understand why you'll need to put me on your show." So they accepted my email, and then I got an email back saying, "There's somebody such and such is going to ring you in about a day at this time. Can you take a call?" I said, "Yes, I can indeed." And then the phone call happened. I can't remember the person that I talked to that day, but I was like, "Yeah, how you doing? My name is Chef Declan, aka Big D. I'm dying to get on your show. I'd love to represent Ireland, and I believe I'll be the first European, first Irishman on Hell's Kitchen. And what an honor it would be to work alongside and cook for Chef Gordon Ramsay." The person on the phone went, "Can you just hold the line for 2 minutes? I need you to get somebody else to talk to." And I went, yeah, sure, no problem. And then I'm not sure if it was one of the executive producers, but then he started talking to me, and he goes, "Yeah, okay, we're going to fly you to LA. We'd like to meet you in person for a special interview." And I was like, "All right." And then I waited about 3 weeks after that. And then I got the email saying, "These are your tickets. This is your flight. You're coming to LA. We're going to put you up in a hotel. We'll go through the interview process. You'll meet such and such. You won't be allowed to do anything except for this interview. And then we'll fly you back." And I was like, "All right, great." And went through the whole process. I believe everybody else's meeting was about like 10, 15 minutes. They brought me into the room, and I was sitting in front of 8 producers, and they just said, "So tell us a bit about yourself, Chef Declan." And I went, "Okay, would you like me to speak to you as friends, or would you like me to speak into the camera?" And he goes, "No, speak to us as friends." And I went, "All right." So I started telling him everything about me, what it was all about, and the whole lot. And I believe my meeting lasted 45 minutes. Left the meeting. There was women in the background on laptops that were taking notes, screaming and shouting for me and everything. And then when I was walking out the door, I went, "Did that go well?" And the woman who was like my handler just went, "You've nothing to worry about. That was amazing." And I was like, "Okay, awesome, brilliant."
At this point, you still haven't met Gordon Ramsay. You've only met the producers, right?
I've only met the producers, never met Gordon Ramsay.
All right. So then what happened? I mean, did you return to Ireland, and then they sent you another email and said you're in?
Yes. Or no, I was still working and living in DC, and then I waited for a while, went back to work, and then eventually got the email to say you've been accepted. Congratulations, and that you'll be able to be one of the contestants for season 19 of Hell's Kitchen.
I'll be down. Do they give you like a lot of time to prepare? I mean, is it like, hey, you got to be here next week?
no time to prepare. Literally, you got to be here next week. This is your bag. You get your bag ready. This is what you're allowed to bring, etc., etc.
So what was it like meeting Gordon Ramsay for the first time? Was it like we see on TV? I mean, are you allowed to say that? Or is it like we see it on TV that the first time you guys get off the bus, that's the first time you actually meet Gordon Ramsay?
Yeah. So meeting Gordon Ramsay for the first time is literally like it is in the show. Just out of nowhere, he appears, and that's the first time you meet him. And then it's a roller coaster of a ride from then.
Wow. I mean, now we've heard, everybody's heard, like, you know, good and bad about Gordon Ramsay. What's he like off camera? I mean, can you give us, I mean, just a general, is he a nice guy, or is he kind of, I've heard he's actually kind of shy off camera with the contestants.
He's an absolute gentleman and a scholar. I would run through flames to that man. Not just saying it because I was on the show, but deep down, just talking to him. Yeah, no, he's an absolute gentleman and a scholar. I was lucky enough that I had, on the show, I had 5 dinners with him in some of the things. I believe that he had bonded with me and compared me to him, from me being from Europe and him from being Scotland, that he compared me to me and him, me coming from Dublin and him coming from Glasgow. But trust me, there was no favoritism. He told me I was a donut whenever he needed to. If I made a mistake, fair enough, I made a mistake, but I brushed it off like water off a duck's back and bounce back all the time. Is he harsh? No, the man is an absolute genius. All he's trying to do is get the best out of you that he sees in you, the potential that's in you. He sees it, and he wants to get it out of you. But he doesn't want to dick around. He doesn't want to arse around. He just wants to make sure that he's not wasting his time trying to get it out of you. He wants to see the drive in you to excel, to change, to differ yourself, to better yourself. Like, he sees all that. So in the service, I'm not going to say I'm not going to dish him for it. I know what it's like being an executive chef. If you have people that come to you that say they can do a job, and then when it comes to the crunch and they can't do it, of course you're going to lose your mind, because it's your food that's going out on the plate. So it's your name that goes out on each and every plate. And if his team isn't able to do it, it's like it shows bad on him. Even though he knows how to do it, he's shown you how to do it. You've said you can do it, so that's why he loses his mind. But I totally respect the man. He's a legend.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, everybody gives him a lot of grief for his attitude or the way he yells on screens. But the thing about it is, he did not get to where he is today by giving substandard service in his restaurants or in his kitchens. I mean, and that's all there is to it. And he's reached that point. Like, it's like you said. Okay, so he sees the best in you. What I think a lot of people, I would have to say 99% of the population, doesn't understand is what the atmosphere is like in a kitchen setting. It's extremely intense and extremely intense. And that's the level of intensity that you have to maintain, in order to make sure that the standards are followed. There's not a whole lot of room for mistakes and for, all the refires and everything else, because you lose business. Yeah. You have people that they're just be like, okay, well, the food was good the third time, and then they're not going to come back. So there is that level of intensity that needs to be maintained. Because if you watch a lot of his other videos and stuff like that, he's quite calm, he's sedate, and he's just so knowledgeable. And I've tried to make his scrambled eggs at home, and I'm like, I don't even know if they're right, but they taste pretty good, and he can just whip them up like nobody's business. So, yeah. What was the hardest part about the competition? Was it like, being on camera? I mean, because it's a different setting, it's a different kitchen, different menu. What was the camera distracting, or was it trying to work with a new team? What was the most difficult obstacle to overcome in Hell's Kitchen?
Mark, what was the biggest obstacle? I I don't know. The biggest obstacle for me was that I was on a show. It was unbelievable. I had to keep myself grounded. I had to keep myself level-headed. I had to keep my head in the game. I had to keep on making sure that I was totally focused on the goal at hand. Did anything distract me? No. When you say was I looking at the cameras, I just took every service like I was actually in work, or like you should have done. What was in my mind was, this is my stage with Gordon Ramsay. This is my opportunity to get the opportunity to work for Gordon Ramsay. I got to show him how I work. I got to show him my level of professionalism. I got to show him my skills. So I looked at it as an interview continuously. So that's how I approached it. And then when we were not in the kitchen cooking, or we weren't doing any of the penalization stuff, I tried to not kind of say I changed. I was literally me being me continuously. That's how I am. That's how I carry on. That's the banter that I have, being a cheeky chappy from Dublin. That's the sarcasm. That's the humor. That's the wit. I also I keep it professional in the kitchen, but I don't make it like that. It's not enjoyable in the kitchen when you work with me. I make it as enjoyable as possible when you're working with me. So as regards distractions, that's how I approached it. If you want to call it distractions, yeah.
So I mean, it was easy to overcome that being on camera and knowing that everybody's watching your every move. That didn't shake you, huh?
So when you watch the show and they have it on infrared at nighttime, I was worried that when I was in bed that I was going to be letting out a fart, or I was going to be snoring, or I was going to wake up and forget that I was on camera and I'd be scratching me proverbials or something. That's what I was worried about.
Right.
But apart from that, everything else was, I blocked it out. I just said I'm at a job interview and I'm working in a restaurant.
Now this isn't a spoiler,
yeah.
But at one point through the season, you got to meet another one of my favorite chefs, and that's Chef Aaron.
Yeah.
Were you able to speak with him personally, or because I think that guy, I love Mexican food, so I've looked at some of his things too, and I'm just like, wow. Well, how is he? Is he a pretty cool guy?
Yeah, man. I love his tattoos. Did I get to talk to him one-to-one personally? No. I got to talk to him about my dish, and he did say that my Mexican flavors were outstanding. Going from Europe, I can't remember, but my dish that time, he said it was a bit. The flavors were amazing, but the presentation wasn't Mexican style enough. But he said that my Mexican flavors are awesome. So for him to say that to me, that was cool. That was great. That was enough for me. He liked the idea of my dish, but he just didn't think it was executed properly.
Right on. So now in the coming weeks, what are you expecting as far as recognition? Now you're already known. You're already, pretty well recognized. But now, before we hopped into the podcast, you were just telling me that you were just gaining Instagram followers like crazy, like at an alarming rate. What are you what are you expecting to come out of being on the show in the coming weeks, months?
What am I expecting? I would like that this helps me launch my career even more so in America. If it makes me a household name, so be it. If it gives me the opportunity to be working closely with people who are looking for investment opportunities and looking for a chef for different projects, that would be awesome. I got signed with an agent just recently in RamiroProductions.com. He saw me. It's been out around the world already, but he saw me up in Canada, and he just said the Canadians went crazy for me. The Irish community in Canada are going crazy for me, and he reached out and said that I was unbelievably marketable, and he signed me up. We had a discussion. We talked about it. I've never been in that situation before, but yeah, I'm signed with an agent now, so here's the big things to come going forward.
You might eventually get your own cooking show. That would be
If
amazing.
that would be the pinnacle. If I was to get my own cooking show on the Food Network or wherever, doesn't matter. If I was to get my own cooking show, that would be amazing. Amazing.
So on the business end, let's delve in a little bit on your brand, Big D's. Yep. Okay. So you talked earlier about what you've got in the pipeline. You got 2 restaurants you're opening up, fine dining and a chippy. You got your barbecue sauce coming out, and we'll talk a little bit about how some of our listeners, if they want to get involved on the investment end of that, we'll talk a little bit about that in a minute. But in the food service industry, I mean, it's a tricky industry. Mm-hmm. Especially now, with COVID. I mean, it's one of the first ones that when they say there's restrictions, there's lockdown, it's like it's the first ones. Where do people hang out? They hang out in restaurants. They hang out in bars. They hang out in places where you can eat and drink. So that's a huge risk.
Yeah.
But let's say besides that, in the perfect world without COVID, what do you think is the biggest challenge with being a restaurateur?
Keeping yourself. Your restaurant itself, keeping it interesting for the customers, i.e. making sure that you have seasonal menu changes, that nothing gets stagnant, nothing gets dormant, that you're keeping up with new techniques and skills that are going on out there. Depending on how far you want to take it, like with some of the molecular gastronomy, I take some of those skills and techniques and I use them with the food that I do. I don't want to go totally molecular gastronomy because I feel that the food looks amazing, it tastes amazing, but I want people to leave my premises that they don't feel hungry, that they know they got value for money and that they're going to come back for more. They know that it's never always going to be the same, but the quality will be always good, but they'll always get something new and exciting when they come back to me. Anything else? Staff. I know now with COVID, it's going to be crazy to get staff. I've heard that so many people have left the industry and have gone off to get different jobs in different sectors. To find chefs will be harder and harder. But I feel that with my length of experience that I have, I can adapt to that. I can change my style of food. I can change the preparation style of the food. Not that it's going to lack in any quality, but we can just come up with a different style of food for chefs that aren't as skilled to bring them up to the level that I want them at, that they can eventually leave me being a really strong chef. That's my goal all the time. I try and take people out of their shell that aren't confident in the kitchen, and I try to turn them into culinary monsters leaving me, that know all the things they need to know, that they've learned all their tastes and they've learned all their techniques. So that's what I try to do, but I don't do it in a militarized way. I do it in a fun way, like that they want to come back to work every day, that there's no excuses. There's no, oh, I'm sick. Or if we're on a busy night, I know that by the time they've trained up with me, that walking into a busy night, they're walking in like Conor McGregor walked into that ring that day with arms swaying on, we've got this. And I that's what I try and aim for all the time. With my customers, I try to make sure that if I can, I'll be personable with them. If I get the opportunity, I'll go to the tables and talk to them. I feel now I'm going to have to do that a lot more with Hell's Kitchen. When people come to my restaurants, they're all going to want to talk to me, which is going to be exciting. Because of that, I'm going to try and make some of my food more interactive, where I'm either carving something at the table or I'm plating something for them and explaining the dish. These are all things that I'm going to have to adapt to now. I have done it in the past, but I want to do it more so now, especially in the fine dining restaurant. And then with the gastro pub, when I open that one up, I feel that the food there is going to be more so memories of what I had growing up in Ireland. There's going to be some of the old classic Irish dishes, but I'm going to try and modernize them or tweak them in a way that you never thought they could be presented. And these are all things that I'm going to do for my part in the industry, where I'm looking after the people that are going to work for me and the restaurants that I'm going to be working in.
So from what you're saying is you plan on staying highly engaged and involved with the processes of your restaurants.
Oh yeah, totally. I'm like, it's my name going out there. I have to be involved with them. I'm gonna have my fingers in many pies, but I will always have a personal touch with whatever I do. Meaning that like the recipes will be finalized by me for anything that I make. For example, Big D sauce is my favorite dish that I ever had, where I got this sauce from, was Chinese barbecue spare ribs back in Dublin. And over the years, from the first time I ever had it, that barbecue flavor stayed with me. And as I matured, I eventually came up with my own barbecue flavor sauce, which is Big D's barbecue sauce flavor. That's not just the only sauce I have. I have another 8 recipes, and I'm looking to get all them going. But they're all part of what I grew up with and what I remember, and how those original flavors affected me, and then how I have now matured and adapted those flavors. For example, I have another tartar sauce that's going to come out when I get the fish and chip shop running. You're going to be able to have that tartar sauce with your fish and chips, but I'm also going to have it bottled for the stores, and so on and so forth. So yeah, it's always going to be something personal to me that you're going to get either in my restaurants or in my food products.
Well, and that's just a reflection of your passion, because what I was going to say is a lot of people out there, I'm not going to say chefs, I'm just going to say restaurant owners or people that want to be restaurant owners have this idea that they're going to come in, they're just going to hire a chef and they're going to sit back and just collect the profits. And 90%, 99% of the time, I'd have to say that doesn't work out the best for them. So what kind of advice would you give a person? So let's say a home chef that is thinking about branching out and opening up their own restaurant. What would, if they come up and said, "Hey, Chef Declan, this is what I'm planning to do," what would be the first words out of your mouth, do you think?
Make sure that you get into a busy restaurant first and look at all the angles, because it's not as easy as you think. I'm at this now 25 years, and I've worked in many restaurants in Ireland, in France, in America. I've worked in small restaurants. I've worked in large restaurants. I've done small volume of high-end food, and I've done large volume of layman's food, if you want to call it that. And so many wheels, there's so many gears to the machine that it's unbelievable. So make sure you get into a busy restaurant that has a good name and work it. Like, get in there, see what everybody has to do, see how it all works, and then reassess your decision. And then another thing is, be smart. If you have people that are involved, and at the end of it, you understand that this is for you, you want all this, be smart, get people involved, get people involved that have worked in the industry to be part of your support team. Don't just go willy-nilly and just hire family or friends. Like, take the time, find people that have been in the industry if you actually want to do it. And then it might work for you, it might not work for you. But I'm not going to say don't do it. Always follow your dreams, follow your passions like I've done. But it's not as easy as you think, and it's not just like a flash in the pan. It does take time. It does take sweat. It does take tears. It does take blood and guts. I've sacrificed so much over the years. Simple things, probably like when people are talking about TV shows, when I meet them on my day off, and I'm like, "What TV show? Oh, I didn't see that. I'm always working." Or when they're going on about stuff like that, or they're going to a concert, I can't do it. I couldn't do it during my career growing up, but now that I'm getting to this level, I might be able to do it. Not that I'm going to be at it all the time, because, as I said before, I like to be involved with my kitchens. But I mightn't have to come in as early once I have my sous chefs rolling properly, and I mightn't have to leave as early or as late once my sous chefs are in charge. And I might get to do these things now, which would be great. But as regards TV shows, yeah, I won't be able to get to see them all the time.
Yeah, I don't think I saw a primetime TV show for 20 years.
Yeah.
I was always working, always dinner, always working dinner service. I remember I worked lunch service for about 3 months and I didn't know what to do.
Yeah.
I didn't know what to do at night. You know what I'm saying? It was usually show up at 2:00, prep till 5, do dinner service, clean up and go home. So
the other one partaking now is brunch and mimosas on a Sunday. That might be something nice to think about as well. I've always been cooking brunch, and I've normally, as an executive chef, I've always worked up to 12 hours a day, lunch and dinner. And then if it was a case of it's brunch, lunch, and dinner, I've always done that as well. And that's what I've worked at.
Brunch is one of my favorites to work because you can get so creative. I mean, and like I did, hotels and country clubs, and you can get creative to a point. But brunch is where you can really get, I used to love doing events, weddings, you know what I mean? And just whatever parties or events that would come along. And I would love doing plated events. That was always a blast, when you're back there and you got 500 plates to do. And that was a lot of fun to get creative with that. So tell us, what is your favorite food?
My favorite food?
Be it... yeah, I mean, being a chef, I mean, we know Chef Ramsey, he loves the sausage roll. This good old fashioned comfort food sausage roll. What's Declan's secret?
Right. So growing up, my mother always made the most amazing lasagna, and lasagna was one of my things. One of my favorite foods right now that I'm over here in America is I'm a bleeding ramen junkie. All I like to do is search out different types of ramen, and Filipino food as well. I love Filipino food over here. I'm also trying to I'm fascinated by Japanese food, and I hope to this year, coming near the end of the year, I hope to take a trip to Japan to discover more of Japanese food. And also I hope to go to the prefecture where my Japanese knives are made and check all that out. So yeah, that's my favorite. But growing up as a kid, it was my mom's lasagna. Now it's ramen and everything to do with Japanese food. It's just mind-boggling to me. It's just delicious. And so the history and the culture of Japan is really interesting to me as well.
Well, you got to come visit us in the Philippines.
Oh yeah, for sure. And try some of that barbecue pig. Can't wait.
Oh yeah, the lechon. It's called lechon. Lechon baboy or lechon manok. Yeah. Lechon baboy is the barbecued pig. Now you'll see them. They do it for over charcoal.
Yeah.
And for like a day.
Low and low.
Oh yeah, real slow. And it's all done by hand. They make the little charcoal fire all the way around and just fan it. Sit there and fan it all, keeping it nice and hot, just the right temperature.
Yep.
And yeah. Have you tried Lucky Me? If you're into ramen noodles, have you tried Lucky Me, like pancit canton or any of that?
I have not.
Go down to your Asian food store. I'm certain they'll have it, or talk to your Filipino friends.
Lucky Me.
And ask them about Lucky Me pancit canton. I had some for lunch today, actually. They got all kinds of different flavors. Good noodles. You got it?
Yeah, Lucky Me, cool. Instant pancit canton, chow mein, etc., etc., etc.
Yeah, there's all kinds of different flavors. Kids love it. Kids love it here. All right, so moving on. Now you have some investment opportunities, and I'm excited about that for our listeners.
Yep.
Tell us about your investment opportunities and how they can reach you for more information. And of course, I'm going to put all of your information in the description of the podcast. But what do you got in the pipeline there for investment opportunities?
So the first major one that I've been working on for years is the range of sauces, the barbecue sauce, which is my first one that I've managed to get rolling on my own. It's now FDA approved, and it's going to be ready for the stores by the third week of January. I just received the label today. I think I sent it to you if you want to share that with any potential people that are interested. Then with that, I have about 7 to 8 other sauces in that range that I know are going to be winners. I have all the graphics for it. I have all the concepts for it. Then the next one is I want to do, which is connected to my Big D's range and branch of it, like, is going to be the Big D's fish and chips, which I'm already in the process of trying to get my first one going. They're only small units. You don't have to have them that they're dine in with seating. They are literally built to be a fast food type setup that people can come in, order, grab it and go, or people can order with DoorDash and whatever, and come in as the DoorDash driver lands. It will take 2 minutes to have it in the bag and ready to go for them. With that as well, there's the products that I'm making from scratch for the fish and chips. For example, the tartar sauce, and then my batter mix, which I hope to get that into production and bagged for the stores, all under the Big D's range. I would love to expand with the barbecue sauce into another idea that I have, would be to be like a specialized barbecue joint where you can do pork, chicken, or fish, or beef with some of the barbecue sauces that I have in my range. I'd love to try and get a small place open with that, and maybe build it in such a way that it's franchisable, but it's still not going to be big enough that it's going to get too diluted, right? If that makes sense. I still want it to have that mom and pop feel, that it's real, it's legit, it's made from scratch. I'd like to get that going, and they're the two main things that I have. There's merchandise to go with them, there's the sauces to go with them, and then there's the fish and chip idea. Right now, I'm also looking for anybody who's interested in investing to get in touch and see what else we can talk about. I have some other ideas that aren't food related, but are connected to the food industry. But yeah, there's a lot going on in my head that I need to get out now.
Great. And then again, do you want to give the information of how they can reach out, or where they can see the portfolios, or whatever you have put together?
So they can reach out to me at chef@declanhorgan.com. That's my email. And they can check out some of my stuff on my Instagram page, which is at Declan76.com. Or sorry, at Declan76. Right now, because of getting everything ready, I'm hopefully going to be doing up a pack for the sauce. The label is ready, the sauce is ready, it's FDA approved, and I'm going to be doing up a big promotion pack soon to have that ready for Instagram and all social media. Also, that there's going to be a brochure for it to approach some of the big stores over here in America, which that brochure will be in turn used for anybody outside of the country that's interested. I'm also getting a brochure done up, which is going to take a little bit of time, but I'm getting a brochure done up for the fish and chip concept for investors that I'm working with now, and then potentially for anybody else that wants to check it out and get to understand that this is a great little idea. It's a definite money maker, and it's easy setup and easy to go.
Hey, that sounds great, and I'm hoping that there is some people out there that are listening that are interested, or that will be interested. And like I said, we'll put all of the links in the podcast in the description of the podcast. Chef Declan, we are out of time, so I'm going to wrap it up. But I'm going to say something that I've always wanted to say since you were the first celebrity I've ever had on the podcast. I'm going to say this. Chef Declan, thank you for being here. And you can catch Chef Declan on Hell's Kitchen every Thursday night on Fox, starting tomorrow night. Don't miss it. All right, so that will wrap it up for this installment of Telecast PH. I've been BizDev Jeff, your host. Thank you so much for listening, and a special thank you to Chef Declan Horgan for taking the time to talk with us. Now, if you like this podcast, please subscribe, and if you're on the YouTube channel, Go ahead and like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you'll be notified when I upload new content. And I'm always looking for great feedback, so comments are always welcome. And of course, if you want to find out more about Telework PH, what we do, and how a virtual assistant can help change your life, all you got to do is hop on over to www.teleworkph.com or hit me up on LinkedIn. Just search BizDev Jeff Thompson or the hashtag BizDevJeff. And as the late great Dr. Wayne Dyer said, in a world where you can be anything, be kind. Take care, everyone. Be safe. This is BizDev Jeff, signing off.